The two Jills, a psychologist and psychic intuitive, reveal mind-blowing insights that turn psychology, self-help, and conscious teachings on their heads. Why? Because they work. Real help, sincere growth is here. Welcome to Psyched.
Hi, Jill.
Hey, Jill.
Good to see you.
I know, it's good to see you too. Very good.
So we're going to be talking about feng shui and personal spaces and helping them feel really as vibrant and as flowy. I'm going to make up words as we go here today. And you know more about feng shui than I do. I just know what I like, but I don't always know why I like it or why I don't like something. So I'm excited about this topic. And everybody has personal spaces, and everybody may wonder why they like a certain area, but they don't like another area. And I'm hoping that in this sort of a mini message, we can offer some tips.
Yeah, I like that. Feng shui is my thing. And my husband knows at this point when we're out and looking for a cafe or looking for a restaurant, he's like, is this the one? Is this the one? You know, so he won't sit anywhere without me having okayed it. Every time we go to, we travel a lot for work. So every time we go to a hotel, he's like, which side do you need? Because it's never the same. It is a very inner experience and being cognizant of the way that I feel in a space and then making a decision about it. And the reason why I think this is such a good topic is because I do think people are more affected by the energy of spaces. And think about it. If your space at home, let's say you're going into your kitchen and there's something about that space that you're going into it every day, 1,000,000 times a day, you're spending a lot of time in there. And so if there's something in there, like the cabinets falling off, or your microwave doesn't work, or there are just certain things in there, they could be having more of a behind the scenes impact on your mood and your energy than you think. So I think it's an important thing to put on your own radar and dismiss it if you want, but don't dismiss it before you've checked it out, before you've attended to the idea.
So do you have a sense, I mean, is there a part of you that's like, I know 3 things that people can do right off the bat to add or deduct from a space that would have potentially easy benefits?
Oh, 100%. And I'm sure you have some too, right? So one thing is clutter. Clutter for a lot of us just compiles. I'll get to that later. This is obvious. There's so many people have businesses, right? To declutter you. Use them, find them, or do it yourself. It's super satisfying. And it's almost like you have a new space, right? So that's one of my tops. Do you have one that you can think of that you do?
Clutter would be a big one. I'd say plants. I'm not a plant mom. I heard that term for the first time recently, and I was like, I know some plant moms now that I've heard that term. I'm definitely not a plant mom. I don't even have a green thumb, but I do know that I really enjoy some natural things that are growing around me. I like to have them in different rooms. I know they have air quality benefits too, but I really like that.
Yeah, I love that. And my third one I will say is if you're walking into a room and you think one day I'm going to do this room or I'm going to fix this or it's in your future, if it's something simple, do it now. And if you really can't take on the space, just move things around. Just remix it. Because even that gives you a sense of change, accomplishment. It moves you out of stagnation, and you've actually done something, even if it's not your highest goal. So a lot of times we let perfection stand in the way of a good zhuzh, right? So don't be afraid to get in there and start moving your things around. Put the bed on a different wall. Change, a couch from one room to the other room, swap them out. just get fun, have fun with it and be creative with it. And I think you'd be surprised at the benefit. A lot of people have beautifully manicured spaces, but they don't feel inviting. They don't suck you in and make you want to curl up in them. So even if a decorator did it, zhuzh it. You can do it.
Make it your own.
Make it your own.
I love the idea of changing it. And my mom used to change the furniture around in the formal living room. And we had a little family room. We called it the TV room. And she would change it around. She would help us change our bedrooms around sometimes. I loved that so much, Jill, because it was like I'd come home from school and go, ooh, and sometimes I didn't like it. And, maybe I was just grumpy that day, but it was still fun that she wanted to change things around. For some reason, the houses that we've had with my kids growing up, or maybe it's the heavy like leather furniture kind of stuff, it's harder to move around, or there really didn't feel like there was more than one configuration that made sense with the windows and the fireplace and, the kitchen area or whatever. But one of my kids, especially, she loves to change her room around, and I can hear her up there because she's on the second floor. I can hear her, she's dragging stuff around. And I love to see the before and after, because it makes a space, even if you can't, this is not expensive. This is free to move stuff around in a space, swap lamps. I've swapped lamps between rooms before, and it was like, oh, that's fun. It's not that it's like, oh my God, it was horrible in there. It's just fun to shift things around. And sometimes when my energy might be feeling stuck, or I might be feeling like, God, I wish I had the budget to totally, invest, what I feel like this room deserves. If I don't have that, I'll swap even furniture around, chairs from one room to the other. I'll switch office chairs into another room.
You just did your office.
Yeah, I just moved my office around. So it's just funny that we're talking about this topic today, because it's like, I've never had my desk over here with these beautiful windows above me so it's just fun to switch things up. And I'm glad that's your number 3.
And so, I just invite people to, so as an example, my parents had this place, that was my grandmother's, and it hasn't been touched since like 1975. The place was egregious, to say the least. And my dad never wanted to go. It's in Florida for them. My dad never wanted to go, and my mom always wanted to go. And my dad will insist that spaces don't affect him. He's a low maintenance guy, right? It's not cool to be talking that, about what we're talking about. For some guys, like, I don't care. But my dad, I renovated the space. I did it simply. It's just refreshed. And my dad, they both surprised me, and they're going back today. I haven't even finished because who's going to Florida in the summer? But they wanted to get back to it, even though we just visited it 2 weeks ago. So my dad is already, and he won't admit it. I'm sure he will not admit that the decor or the update or just the freshness and the refreshing had anything to do with it. He's too proud for that. But I'm going to say, I think that was a big part of why he just energetically wasn't vibing with the whole idea of going to Miami.
That's fascinating. I think it's cute that he won't admit it. And clearly that space, the way that you redid it and the way it was before, had a dramatic effect on his desire to be there. And yeah, Florida in the summer when you have other choices, that's a big choice.
Weird. It's a weird choice.
I want to go back to when you were talking about you and Doug in a space where there's this kind of, him letting you pick your spot first. I do that with my oldest daughter. She's 21. And because she definitely has a preference. And it's like, my mom is left-handed. So I'm used to like, Mom, where do you want to be? Or kind of imagining you want this seat in the restaurant or whatever. And I normally guess correctly, but sometimes I'm wrong. But with V, she definitely just has a different kind of like, either she wants to be kind of hidden in the corner. But anyway, so I always let her pick first, because it doesn't matter to me. And I'm not judging her that it does matter to her, but there's simple little things that we can do with our loved ones and with ourselves. If you're that person, right, that wants to have a say in where you sit, then claim that for yourself, that actually, are you okay if I sit there? Because to somebody else, it may not matter. And if it matters to you, then speak up.
I think that's really good advice, because Doug will always defer to me, because he doesn't really, even when we go to a restaurant, I have to sit wherever I feel I need to sit. And he's actually very okay with that. But when I go out with my daughters, I can put that aside and make them my view and sit wherever I need to sit. So I can, I guess, turn it off. Right. But if I have my preference, I really do have a preference. And my kids do too. Like my son, I just took him, I dropped him off in a dorm, and we were given keys. It was A and B. We didn't know which side A of the room or B was the room, but we immediately went, both of us, to this like more protected side. And then we tried our keys and all the furniture, and we're like, damn it, that's not our side. We have to be in the exposed side by the door. We literally moved all the furniture. We shifted it all so that he could have this like kind of cozy, cave-like you were talking about. Your daughter likes to be a little bit more, in the, sort of protected spaces. So we moved the furniture, and he looks at me, I look at him. We knew exactly what we were going to do. There was no question.
When I'm curious if you've had an experience where you were maybe looking at property, and I don't know if people know, I don't think the podcast people know, I just got my real estate license because I love real estate so much, and it was ridiculous. My husband and I were paying in real estate commissions over the years. And anyway, so I definitely have an instant feel for myself when I'm in a space. And sometimes I can't identify why. It just doesn't feel right. But the home that Jeff and I have stayed in the longest, it didn't feel like home. It felt like our parents' home. It felt like something either of our parents would have. It felt sophisticated. It felt fancy relative to the house that we were coming from. And it felt big. And we just had our view was 15 months old, and we didn't have Georgie yet. And I just remember we were looking at the koi pond when we were doing our second visit before we made an offer. And I said, it feels like we're at our parents' house. And he said, that sounds like something we can grow into then. That's cute. I was like, yeah, that's true. And we were in that house the longest. 12 years is the longest we've been in a house so far in our 30 years of marriage. But anyway, do you have that too, Jill, where there's just an instant sort of like,
it is instant
feeling?
I feel it instantly. I walked into, I was getting a place for my son for, he was transferring schools. We needed to get a place. I walked right in and I knew immediately. I was like, that's it, we're done. And that's actually been true that's why I say about myself, I don't shop, I buy. It's because I feel it instantly. So there's no reason, I don't question it. I don't try to talk myself out of it. Then once I feel it, I don't give myself reasons why I should keep looking. I used to be a party planner, and I would take people, I would vet all the places based on their criteria, and I would take them to the top 3. 90% of the people couldn't, that's the way I operate. You show me 3, I feel it and I know it. I'm very decisive, but you get an indecisive bride. They want to see everything. And the sad part was, it was all downhill from there. And when you go downhill, you actually ruin your own reputation, because they're now asking you for something that you can't provide. They want something better than the best that you already show them. So it's actually quite interesting. But I love that about me. Like, that's one of the things that I can walk into a space and know immediately. And
that is a gift.
A lot of people can, but they don't either trust it, or they prefer, they trust the person maybe who's, whether it's a broker or a decorator or a friend. Like, we sometimes put our stuff in the back seat, and people have to understand, this is not about decor. Even to this day, that apartment that I was mentioning, the decor is arguably nil. It's a dorm room for my son, but every time I walk in there, it hits me anew. And that's why I think this conversation is so important, because if I'm struck by every time I walk in by the beauty of a place or the energy of a place and the positivity of it, then I must be struck when I'm walking into a place and the negativity of it. So think about if you're walking into a workspace, right? And the energy isn't doing that every day affects us. Really, really does. And I think that a lot of the stuff when we're like, I don't know why I don't feel good. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I'm frustrated or short fused and snapping at people. Your space matters.
And it is a container for our energy. It just is. I don't know if you know this. I know in one culture, in German culture, there is this tradition of no matter what time of year it is, no matter what the weather is like outside, just occasionally, I don't know if there's like a specific, like every Sunday or, once a month, they open all of the windows and doors, at least a crack, just to let fresh air just kind of blow all the way through the living spaces. And I love that. There's something really clearing and cathartic. It just feels good because air does get stagnant, energy gets stagnant. So moving a room around, having all the windows open, all the doors open, even if it's just 5 minutes, and you're just like, okay, let all the fresh air through. It can have a dramatic effect on the space. Our energy makes a huge difference. I know. I could feel negativity. We had neighbors one time I knew something was not going well in that marriage. They did end up getting divorced and she ended up keeping the house. But I could feel the negativity next door. And I was like, Jeff, something's up with them. And I'm just sending them love, but I could just feel the tension. I could feel the, it was not good. So I was just sending love. But when I did go over there, was, chatting with her in her yard or something like that, I could feel like she was outside for a reason because it felt more neutral in the outside. Now what I know is, oh my God, let me walk through your house with you. Let's open all the windows. Let's do whatever somebody's spiritual beliefs are for almost like reclaiming the space for positivity, for life and love and joy and happiness and good health. There's so many things that we can do. I just helped a friend kind of reclaim her space. They'd done a remodel and there were some contract problems between the subcontractors and the general contractors. So there were some unpaid bills and things like that between them. And it ended up being really heavy in the house. And I brought my Bible and I brought a crystal and I think she had sage. I was like, sage, some people like sage. We had all the tools and we would just go into every room. And sometimes I would just say, okay, let's just reclaim the space for your family and what you're here for, which is, vibrance and health and joy and laughter and beautiful memories that you're making here. And what's super cool, Jill, is that I think it was 2 days later, I texted her. I'm like, do you feel any difference? I'm so curious. They had an amazing breakthrough meeting with the general contractor where he agreed to solve some of the problems that were unresolved. And I was like, well, that sounds like a fresh start. Did we have anything to do with it? I don't know, but it's very possible.
I just think we're too quick to rule it out or not. We don't want to sound crazy. My son was talking to me the other day about a bed in the shower. Just bear with me for this 1 second. And I was like, why are you talking about this? A bed in the shower showed up on his feed and he sent it to me. How does that happen? But my thinking is there's energy around us. There's more listening than just my phone. So I do feel that there is this exchange with our environment. And each time we're spooked out by it, we sort of reject it. We think it only happens if a device is on Wi-Fi. What's Wi-Fi? It's the ethers. So why is it only that device? Why can't my brain do it? My brain and my voice is transmitting something to a machine. So why are we not transmitting to each other? I just think we're too quick to rule out the waves. And I think and we're too quick to, I think, blame other people when maybe we have to take stock of our space. And I love what you said, because maybe it's a great offering to people to go into your spaces, sit anew and feel into them. Go into each room in your house and feel it. And if you don't like the way it feels, don't get discouraged. Judge. Mm-hmm. It's actually so much easier than you think, but people think it has to be a decorating element. It's not.
Or an expensive element. And
it doesn't need to be.
Nothing what we said is expensive. This is not, I mean, yes, you could hire it as a decorator or a organizer. That could cost some money, but it might be worth it. If somebody has that in their bank account, that's great. I love what you're saying here, because the reason that
Candles.
I point out, what was that?
Candles, plants.
Candles, yeah.
Soft fabrics, textures, right?
Yes.
It's so easy. It's so
Paint.
easy.
Paint is so easy. Paint is the cheapest and most transformative thing we can do sometimes. The other part of this, and I love that you said this about how we feel in a space. I'm not a fan of the idea that we are the outcome of what our spaces feel like. I feel like we are the biggest input to what our spaces feel like.
Yeah.
So you are a generator. You're a transmitter, like you were saying, of some vibes. What is that, right? When I come home, and I haven't been here, I've been on vacation, I want to bring my joy that, oh, I'm so glad I'm home. I love this space. I'm grateful for the space. I'm grateful for all the bodies that are in here, animal and human,
But do you think it has to be like a coherence? Like it's both of us, right? Like I like what you're saying, but I find that I do have trouble keeping my energy in a space that like I want to go in with joy, and I think I do, but then the space takes me down sometimes.
I'm vulnerable to it too. When it's my own space or my own energy field, we've talked about energy fields a lot in the sphere that we sort of operate within. I always been dedicated to declaring my own personal space wherever I am, even if I'm in a space that just has vibes that are kind of like, I want to minimize my time here and can we leave as soon as possible? Because I definitely have those moments. There are times when I just get the heebie-jeebies, the creepy crawlies. I just feel like something dark and heavy is happening. And it's not that I'm not wishing them well, but I want to minimize my time in that space. And I won't name any businesses, but there are times I'm like, please don't make me go there. My kids are like, but what I want is here. And I'm like, please don't make me go in.
Some spaces are chaotic.
Oh my God. Or whatever.
I feel the chaos.
The blue lights. I don't know. I just, yeah.
Lighting is so important. I would go to my sister's house sometimes and I would just start cleaning up. It's not that it was dirty, but the chaos or the whatever it's almost like, there's a vibration on a spring, like on a guitar. And it's like, until I take care of it, I'm in that vibrating state. It's a very unsettled state for me. Mm. And so, maybe it looks obnoxious. I'm just not 100% sure. Well, who wouldn't want you to clean their house? But
especially you, because I know your places are clean.
So good at it. But I do have, and maybe more than most, that very vibratory sense that I have to, work with. And this goes to our next podcast, right, of personal peace. Yeah. But it also, there are ways that I can use my environment to placate that and really bring it to sort of neutral.
That's beautiful. And what a gift that you were, I sense, giving your sister in that. I want to touch back on light bulbs, and I know we're wrapping up here. light bulbs are huge. I know that sounds so strange, but I remember the days when there weren't a lot of choices in light bulbs. They all had the little filaments and they were all, in my opinion, a nice kind of yellowy glow. And now there's all these choices. I have all these LED lights that are can lights, and they have settings from very blue to very yellow. And I like right in the middle or slightly on the yellow. And I definitely have a preference. I hate those blue lights. My husband loves them. It's hilarious. So some of our light bulbs don't have those settings, but in his office, especially at our vacation place in McCall in Central Idaho, all of the light bulbs in his office are that bright blue, and he loves it. And I put them there for him. When I'm in there, I need all those lights off and like a little lamp on because I'm just like, I feel like I'm in an OR, an operating room. I just can't stand it, but he loves it. So it's just,
colorblind?
I don't feel like I'm trying to be objective that there isn't one right answer, but we both have very strong opinions, and it is what it is. Thank goodness that in the rest of the house, he's agreeable to the softer kind of yellower kind of tones, more neutral tones. But those blue light bulbs, I was just in an open house yesterday and I was just like, oh my God, these blue lights are killing me. Cause I just feel like they don't show anything well. Paint,
no, they wash
carpet,
out color.
woods. Yeah, we look like shit in those, in my opinion. I think it's unflattering to everything. But either some people don't notice or they don't care. And I do care. So, I mean, I've done that where one of the houses we built, they put in all of these LED lights that were all this very, very blue tone. And I was like, oh, sweet Jesus, I changed every freaking light bulb in that house. And my husband is like, what are we doing? I'm like, I can't. But they had to be a certain code or the inspector or whatever, which is fine. But then I found a home for all those other light bulbs. One of my neighbors didn't care.
So for people who don't know, this is an important conversation. You want to go either 2700, that's the yellow, which is more of the incandescent, the original light bulbs that you can't get anymore. And then the 3000 just gets a little brighter and a little, the blue yellow mix, but those are the happy places. And lighting is another huge thing that if your space is just not feeling inviting, like you said, bring a different lamp in, bring a different lighting source in, just fix that. Maybe it's too bright, maybe it's too dim. Those things make a difference.
That's good. I'll add another technical element like you just did. Paint has something called an LRV. It's a light reflective value. And you can actually on decorator sites and on some of the paint manufacturer sites, you can look at the LRV, and that can tell you in a more objective term how bright your space is going to feel. And that makes a big difference, because if you're in a room that already has just a shit ton of light, you could go in a lower LRV. Or if you're like my oldest daughter, especially, who likes the cave appearance, her room is actually quite dark normally, and she wanted a dark eggplant kind of color. The LRV is ridiculous on it. But when I had her room painted and she came back from college one semester, she was like, she did have this happy glow on her face. And it is a sexy color actually with the color of woods that she has in there. But anyway, anything else you want to add on feng shui and happy spaces?
I think we can make all our spaces happy spaces. I really do think that it's possible to do that. It does require us paying attention to it. And that's why, in the wintertime, people get a little sad sometimes, because the light changes. These are things that are important to pay attention to. So I hope this helps, some people like reset, revive, rejuge, refresh, because it's an easy fix. Easy.
So easy. Yep, I agree. I'm glad we did this topic, Jill. I love you. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Ciao.